Okay.
All right, let's bring
That'd be Nate.
the Parkland Shade Tree Commission meeting to order.
I guess let's do a roll call.
All right, Jen Reiner,
Here.
Quinn Randall, I believe will be absent. Margaret Cosby here. Jean Sealand.
Here.
Lucy Cairns.
Here.
Nate Teeple.
Here.
And Jana Barnett.
Okay.
We have our new member, Margaret, with us. Yeah. Do you have any questions for us real quick, Margaret?
No, thanks. Okay. Is there any public comment?
Can I say a couple of words, please?
Is it in relation
Adrian,
to the agenda?
it doesn't have to. It's only on council meetings.
No, it actually says right there, all public comment shall be related to the subject matter jurisdiction.
It is the subject matter, not the agenda.
Okay.
Okay?
Go ahead.
We're good? Okay. So, again, I'd like to bring back this discussion regarding the trees that damage sidewalks. And I understand the UPMC and everything, but I think that we're pushing a little bit the envelope when we're asking people to fix sidewalks that were damaged by the borough trees. And then it becomes a question, you know, the resident has no say about the borough tree. They can cut roots, they can fix it, they cannot maintain that. Yet when these are let to grow, oversize, and they lift the sidewalk, the resident is asked to pay for the sidewalk.
Kindy?
Yeah.
Hi, Jen. Hi. Grab a seat. Come on. Come on.
So, I think I have not heard, you know, a more serious discussion on this. I've seen the issue being dismissed. To me, it doesn't make any sense. You know, if you're hitting my car with your car, you pay for my car. So the same situation goes on here, to me. So I think that we need to look at this. The other matter is the size and the species of the trees. We have 8 foot, most of Wyomissing has 8 foot. 4 feet is sidewalk, another 4 feet we have a small area with grass. Well, if we plant a tree that's a huge oak tree which will grow at maturity like this, obviously there's no chance for anything to withstand that, whether the curb or the sidewalk. So if we stay with this principle, let's look at species that don't do that. I think it's worth a more in-depth discussion. Why are we placing this burden on the residents? I think it's unnecessary. I think I agree. If something else happens, I mean, yes, the residents should blow the leaves. They should shovel the snow. That is what maintenance means. But fixing something that somebody else damaged, it seems a little bit stretched. That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Can I do a quick response to at least the first part of that question? I get the question a lot from homeowners, why do I have to pay? And I've kind of developed a canned speech, I call it, that I think works and makes sense to me. That the borough has been planting and maintaining trees for over 100 years. And it's what makes Wyomissing special. People move here, want to live here because it's unique with the tree canopy. Those trees do hurt curb, sidewalk, our sewer system. The roots get in the sewer system, cause damage, costs a lot of money to collect the leaves, costs a lot of money to maintain the trees, but it's a trade-off that Wyomissing Borough and Borough residents have been making for 100 years because of what makes Wyomissing kind of special. And that's my
Because now they're mature. Whatever.
Welcome, Kindy. Did you have any, let's do like a quick, I'm Jen Reimer.
Nice to meet you. You wanna do a quick, call?
Nate.
Margaret. Lucy Harris.
John Barrett. Greg, do you guys wanna introduce
Oh,
yourself?
yeah.
Greg?
Greg Sherrod, Tree Department.
Jim Batt, the Public Works Manager.
Melissa Miller, Borough Secretary.
Michelle Bear, Borough Manager.
Nice to meet you.
Katie's also our other new board member.
You remember us all.
Yeah, we'll quiz
Pass
you
those
later.
in.
We'll quiz you later. I would like to take item number 3 and move it, in the future as like a letter B under fall and winter plans or spring. It just let, you know, if there's any, and I would like to say, as part B under number 5, updates on disease, insects, and invasives. Just sort of a general, if there's anything to discuss, we'll just shove it under there. Sound good? Is there anything tree or insect wise that we need to address right now, Greg?
No, not really.
Okay. Then let's go to number 4, the selection of the borough trees. I think some of us just wanted just an overview of the criteria, yeah, and interactions with the public and how that all sort of goes down. I saw your list. Can I ask about the Kentucky coffee tree? Was that a specific request from somebody? Or just something that we chose to
Well,
put
what
there?
a specific request, it's a changing of the trees out on, that's one of the changing of the trees out on, Meadowlark.
Yeah.
Due to that, can't get ash trees. So
Right.
I'm trying to match up the style of trees. Now he did want a larger tree, so I did have a discussion with him, and
Okay, yeah, that's why I was curious,
I
'cause
did
they're
have a
big.
discussion with him, gave him 2 options, and that was one he wanted.
Okay.
So yes, and it's a very nice tree. I mean, it's not native to Pennsylvania, but it's native from Virginia on down,
Mhm.
so it does grow well in this area. It's a nice tree.
Mhm.
Lower maintenance,
Yep.
And there's some out there already, not.
not Kentucky coffee.
Oh, there isn't?
No, there's a locust or 2 out there, but there's not. That's the first Kentucky coffee tree. Oh, there's one I planted in the springtime.
I just
Yes.
thought going back years, there wasn't a lot, but I thought there was
No,
enough.
the Kentucky coffee.
Yeah, I was just thinking about how big it is, but there's no sidewalks over there, so there's not really
No
necessarily an
sidewalks.
issue, so
And
there's other issues.
how in depth do you want me to get on criteria? I mean, I can get in depth or I can get very simple.
Let's just start with a simple overview, and then if anybody has any questions, we'll ask them. How's that sound?
I take a lot of consideration into, well, I shouldn't say me personally. I'm only doing it now, selecting the trees for the past year and a half since I took over. I mean, we had Mark McLaughlin for 27 years, 30 years. And then we had Dick Winters. I can go back to Al, which was the borough manager. He did selections back in the 60s.
Got it.
And 40, that's Al Dreyevich. So
Yeah.
the selection of the trees, as we got more knowledge, Mark and I mean, back then they didn't have the knowledge and they put in what was required, that they wanted, that the Thun and Janssens, they had a specific plan.
They picked the trees originally.
Yes, they picked them originally
Right.
along the boulevard, along Dolphin, along Delaware. So
So were they just
pretty
replacing
much-
tree for tree for a long time? Like,
pretty
if
much.
an oak died, they put an oak in?
Pretty much. And that's changed a little bit now. Between Mark and I, we do mix it up a little more per street, but I still try to keep, like, the boulevard's the same. Now, it's not all red oaks, I'm mixing the oaks up. Him and I have been mixing the oaks up, and we're going with scarlet oaks, sawtooth, there's a lot of different oaks that you can go with. I can give you a list, I got a list of. This is the species. We picked probably, let me give you a number here. Well, we have 751 street trees. I'll give you that number.
7,000.
I mean, 7,551, yeah. Got my dyslexia going.
No, that's okay.
We have also probably about 1,000 planting sites that we can replace. That we'd be fully stocked at that point. So it would be 8,500 trees, approximately, if we are fully stocked now.
It's almost one tree per person.
Yeah, now a lot of that stocking, due to that we took over the hills, there's a lot of open sites over there.
Yeah.
And over there, our past, Mark and my past practice was, we only plant newer trees there if somebody requests, because we just don't have the financial, which I'll get into, burdens and everything else. So back to the criteria, you got a primary criteria, a biological criteria, and then a practical criteria is what we go by, what I go by. Of course, your site's going to be vary per street. Like I said before, the boulevards are going to be getting oaks, you know. So I'm just giving the upper end for an example. Delaware, you know, they get maples, but we've been planting some catsours and some other different species along there. Then we take into consideration, I take into the utility. Years ago, they did not take utilities into, they planted every 35 feet or every 50 feet. That's what they did. Now that changes. If there's a sewer line or water line there, I'll either move it or not replace it. So that does happen. I know that was part of the question. Do you replace a tree if there's something in the way? I mean, it's gas or anything. So we do now take an option of changing it. And then, of course, your spacing's different. And then you talk about the structure of the tree, of what you're going to be putting in per street.
Mm-hmm.
That's the site issue. Then you got into the biological issue, where I can't put a tree right back in after taking one out, due to a lot of it's going back into stump grindings. You have to wait a year. I mean, the stump grindings are a lot of decaying, as Nate would know, it's a decay. You can't put it right back in. Now, you can pull out all the stump grinding and put, if somebody wants one, and we have done that. Then you're talking about diversity of the trees and the size of the trees. That's one of the other topics. With the size of the trees, and every tree varies in size. And, you know, oak trees, your tulip poplar trees, which we had down on Wayne, I mean, they're going to be 80 to 100 feet, and that's the nature. And they do grow within them spaces. You can have them grow. And with having urban forest, you do have a rotation cycle. If you take notice, we are rotating trees out when there's problems, and you rotate them out, and you put new ones back in. And you're gonna have sidewalk issues. I mean, that's part of the structure. Then part of the other thing is plant availability from the nurseries. There's only so many different trees that they have, and that gets into a whole other budgetary issue and everything else. I mean, I can go into other details, but that's the simple, long and short of it.
Well, if you had like a 30-foot tree, would there be less, likely to have less problems with sidewalks and curbs?
No,
Than if you had a 100-foot tree?
no,
Okay.
no.
Do you-
And then I saw your
Yeah.
email about the medium and large trees.
Yeah, I don't know. No, nothing, I can have a lot of opinions.
No, that's good. That's good. That's no problem. But I mean, I did research, and I put stuff from my 40-some years of experience. Tall trees give you a lot more benefit than a medium tree.
They're gonna grow higher, yeah, you're not gonna hit the branch.
Well, no, they give you
Give
more
more shade.
benefits.
They give you more shade.
You know, I'll use Dauphin as an example. I mean, they are larger trees, but you go down that in summertime, it's cool. You're talking about a 5 to 10 degree difference in temperature. You're saving on that energy cost. And then in the wintertime, you also save because they protect you from the wind. And that's why people move into Wyomissing on certain streets. People love Dauphin and Delaware and Garfield and Girard. They provide shade, plus they filter pollution, and you know, they're creating oxygen, and they're also filtering carbon dioxide. You know, there is also cons about it. You have the wind throw, you have problems with wind, but you gotta take your pros with your cons.
I think you're doing a good job.
What's that?
I said I think you're doing a great
I
job.
mean, that's all I can say.
Yeah.
Take your pros with your cons. You're gonna have issues.
Yeah,
When you have trees. I mean, we could take the trees down.
yeah, that's not bad.
But I'm just saying,
Yeah.
you could, and then it would be more open. You look at the boulevards, you look at the upper end, you look at the lower end, and you go over to the Wyomissing Hills, the new section of the hills. There is a big difference in how it looks.
Mhm.
It's more open.
So we'd love to get more trees
I
over
mean,
there.
yeah, so
That's what it is.
hopefully I answered a
Yeah.
little bit of your,
I have a question or two.
Yeah.
You're selecting oaks, and I know they have a very deep taproot, and that's good for.
that's not true.
I know.
Trees don't have taproots. They don't,
It's true.
the trees don't go,
True story.
roots don't go down,
Really?
they
But
spread out.
That's what I've read, okay.
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
spread out.
On the
If-
internet,
If
I
you've
think
got a
I
root that
read
goes
but
down below 36 inches,
Okay.
Yeah, they have it,
Is
maybe in the first few years, they'll put out a taproot and then
Okay.
that dies
Yeah.
and they go,
A
there's no
lot of-
oxygen down.
yeah, they
Okay.
can
Be-
explain all that
yeah.
if he wants to, I'll let you
No, I
know.
think you could just.
They do spread out.
Okay, all right,
Yes.
all right. Another question. In light of changing climate, do you want to consider developing a protocol on how you select trees for that possible change?
We have been,
Not possible,
really,
okay.
the trees have been, I know this climate change is a tricky subject, but your red oaks may be a little more susceptible to issues down the road. And that's why we have been switching to scarlet oaks and some other oaks, because they're not as susceptible for the drought. You know, you're not having the issues as much. So we have not planted red oaks in a couple of years. I'd like to put some back in if it works in certain areas. But yes, to answer your question, we have been changing up because of the climate change a little bit.
Looks like we now have the climate to Kentucky party tree.
Yeah, exactly,
There you
yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume trees would be far less susceptible than your smaller plants and shrubs to the changing of the environment.
Now, larger trees do require more water.
Right.
Well, the PADCNR is recommending planting for a moist future climate.
Yep.
And that's exactly the opposite of what we're starting to experience. The Philadelphia region had 39 straight days of dry weather, which is a record for the area.
I'll throw out there that, you know, the Mount Cuba Center down in Delaware is in the final stages of putting out a report that compiles 5 different climate projections for the mid-Atlantic region and is recommending trees specifically for, in the context of urban environments and also for like landscaping restoration projects that are like going to, you know, fare better, fare worse, and so that is coming out. I believe they're releasing that at the end of January, but might be something, you know, worth considering. I'm curious to see what they put on it. But
I'm just thinking general terms, if it's getting warmer, the species that are southern species.
Within reason. I mean, trees are like people. They will at that. They will at that. Within reason.
My house plants adapt very well.
There's trees on the boulevard that are much older than all of
Fight for their
us.
life.
I mean, they're 100 years old.
Anybody else at the Berks Nature State of the Environment Breakfast? I think that was where I saw, maybe it was in the literature handed out, a projection that in terms of annual average days above 90 degrees in this area, we're gonna go from like 10 a year to 40 a year by 2050. So significantly more very hot days in the year.
Hopefully we don't live around here.
Southern trees works out.
Selection wise, you said, I think you said in the past, occasionally or sometimes you give the resident a choice of 1 or 2 or 3. Like
Well, that was part of the criteria there.
Yeah.
It varies per street. you know.
Whether you can even give them a selection.
Well, not that I can give them a selection, that, you know, I'll use Delaware as an example, that there is several trees that we're putting along there, it's tighter, just like Dolphin, so we gotta put a tree that's smaller, much narrower. And we've been with oaks, and they do not oaks, maples, red maples, various maples. They do well, and we give selection of various, I have probably, where did I have it here? I think there's about 15 to 16 maples that I picked from.
Okay.
So there's a lot of
But
different
just tell me if I'm right, if this, in the older part of town, here, what we refer to as the upper end.
Yes.
There's, it's always been, trying to save some consistency. And I realize there's downfalls to that if you get disease or insects, but there's something to be said for the boulevard effect. But like over in Wyomissing Hills, people have far more choice because there's nothing consistent over there, and the species vary a lot. So it would be a sea change, and we could do it if we wanted to, over the next 100 years, make the boulevards a mishmash and Dolphin Avenue, or we could stay with that.
But Garfield is changing because you can't put ash trees.
Right.
I have switched it to 3 different types of trees there.
But how do you give the residents a choice? I mean, you send a letter saying, here are 3 options, choose one. Is it
Majority of
just-
the time people call, I have right now on my request list, I have a request list for planting in the springtime. I have talked to 20-some people already, you know, on what they wanted.
Yeah.
You know, I gave them a selection, you know, this is what I think would be good for your site, and
My guess is if they have an opinion,
They'll
and
call.
a tree comes down, they're gonna call you.
Usually,
I'm gonna call you.
or
you
when
take
we're
that
out grinding the stump, or when we took the tree down.
one. Right.
You believe it or not, I bet you 70 to 80% of the people talk to us.
Mhm.
And then I put in notes that
Okay.
this is what they wanted.
Gotcha. But so if nobody comes out or nobody says anything, you guys just gotta make the call as far as what's going in, if nobody reaches
Well,
out?
I allow them to
Yeah,
give me choices.
Well, but
If
at
they
some,
want
but
to.
at some, but at some point you've bought things, and you.
Right, it has to be from the selection.
Well, there also has to be the availability of what we can buy.
Right.
Give an example, I had a call last week from a lady down on Wayne. She had a tulip poplar come down. Now, we're not gonna replace that because it's right at the alley, so that site's being eliminated. But she had 1 or 2 others that in the next 2-3 years will probably come down. And she requested a certain species of tree, because I'm not gonna plant tulip poplars back in.
Right.
So, I said, that's not a bad idea, so, you know, we do, I should say I do allow that, and, they have a choice. And it sounds good, yeah, that happens a lot.
Yeah.
And can we put a note in some publication that if people have a preference, they should call?
Sure.
Okay, are there any other quick fall, winter updates? Or, that would be the next item, unless anyone has any other questions on this?
Can I just ask a question?
Yes.
So, we used to have spring, summer, fall, winter when the meetings were quarterly. Melissa and I went back and forth about leaving this on because we discussed it at the last meeting, but I also didn't wanna take it off in case there were any updates. Just how do you want us to handle that moving forward now that we meet every other month?
I would just still leave fall, winter with, you know, whatever, and
And
then
then
we
maybe
can just
like
get the
March.
update of, fall, winter, spring, summer.
Okay.
Switch it in, March.
Okay.
And then we can get a quick update if we need it, it's on the agenda, it's there. And that'll cover the other stuff.
Are you doing any planting in the Parklands? Are you doing any planting in the
We
Parklands?
just planted 7 trees today. Now, that's more the Parks Department and Greg and Jim, I'll plant what they want.
You must be involved somehow.
I'm the one that, I'll order what they, Jim ordered some trees.
He ordered some plants for down around the duck pond at Parkside Drive South. There, a lot of ash had come down, so some replacement trees there.
Is that you?
And-
Bald cypress we
So
put
you
in
want
there,
some shade?
so.
And along, if you walk Old Wyomissing Road up by Roos Bridge, and this was an early due from a recommendation from the Parklands study, between Old Wyomissing Road and the creek to try to keep erosion of the creek down when it floods. I think seven
Probably 7
trees
trees.
went in there this morning.
This, planted this morning.
Nice. Does anybody have anything else on that topic? Anyone else? No? Lucy, I'm gonna jump past you
Okay.
and, go over to number 7 so we can talk to Terry. I wanted to do you earlier and then I forgot. I was busy with Greg. I wanted to, in case you wanted to get out of here. So we're gonna jump down to number 7. This is Terry Reed, from West Reading Wyomissing Rotary Club, who wants to help us out. What do you got for us?
Thank you for the invitation, Michelle, and it's nice to be
Anytime.
here. Michelle's a fellow Rotarian.
Yeah.
So our club, like most clubs in Pennsylvania now, are doing environmental projects. It's kind of a new thing. Rotary traditionally had 6 areas of focus. And in 2020, the board of directors of Rotary International decided that environmental sustainability should be a 7th area of focus. And so they relied on Rotary districts, which is a grouping of Rotary clubs, to come up with an environmental strategy for their district. I chair a new group. Actually, we're 3 years old now. It's in our district. The district includes about 50 Rotary clubs in 5 eastern Pennsylvania counties, including West Reading, Wyomissing. In our group, we help Rotary clubs plan, design, and fund environmental projects of all sorts. There's all sorts of things going on all over our 5-county district. In my club, I also chair an environmental committee, and we have, on an annual basis, maybe 4 or 5 different kinds of environmental projects. Since Michelle's a member of the club, I got together with her a couple of months ago, and we started brainstorming, is there something that our club can do in support of an environmental initiative in the borough? So she gave me a copy of this great report. This is amazing. This was really, really good work. I was in the environmental consulting business for my entire career, and I know good work when I see it. This was good work. I'm really glad that you had Berks Nature involved in the team. So one thing we were talking about, since it's a high priority initiative, apparently, as part of this project, is to do something with invasive plant species. So we don't have a project in mind at this point. I'm here to brainstorm it if you want to do that today. Also, I'll talk a little bit about various funding vehicles that we have in Rotary. Rotary districts have a pile of money that comes from the Rotary Foundation on an annual basis. And a Rotary District Committee then decides how to distribute that money among clubs. So there's a process of applying for a grant with a grant application, and then money is made available. They're never large grants. Usually it's maybe $2,000 or $3,000, as much as $5,000, but that's usually matched by Rotary clubs. That's a requirement of the process. So our club, for instance, would come up with, let's say, $3,000, and we would ask our district committee if they would match that. So you'd have a $6,000 project to do something with it. A project has to be done within a 1-year period. The cycle for the next round is starting now. Grant applications are due March 31st, and then the projects will be awarded a couple of months after that, and the project would officially start on July 1st, 2025. It has to be accomplished within 1 year, and then a final report is submitted. And it can be anything imaginable. I'll give you an example of some riparian buffer projects that we've already done. One was done on Monocacy Creek in Northampton County, another on the Little Lehigh in Lehigh County, and it's out of our district, but I know a very successful project on the Quittapahilla Creek in Lebanon County. In all cases, Rotarians help to fund the project, and it normally involved the removal of invasive plant species and then the planting of a riparian buffer. Those are all very successful projects, and if that's something you think the borough might want to do, we'd like to help out. Not only can we help fund it, but we can bring sweat equity to it. Among our club members, we're involved with 3 school districts in the Wyomissing area, Wilson and Conrad Weiser, and we have the superintendents for those districts in our club. And so we work with those schools all the time. At Wilson, we have an Interact Club, which is basically Rotary in high school. There's about 100 kids in that club, and they work with us on all of our various types of projects. So we do all sorts of environmental projects. On Saturday, we're going to be helping out with cleanup at the Arboretum. That's a new thing for us. So one example of the environmental projects that we do.
Wow, never
Wow,
knew.
a lot.
Who would think that Rotarians were, yeah, we're just a bunch of old gray-haired guys that get together for lunch, right?
They're the happiest people you will ever meet. They sing to you.
That's right, we sing.
You should now say we are the happiest, since I'm one of you.
That's right.
Terry and his group rebuilt the little pavilion,
The
pagoda,
bench.
the bench area.
Jeremiah Sensening was behind that project,
Yeah.
who actually is also on the Civil Service Commission.
We don't have the club, or we don't have the plaque for that yet.
No, they haven't sent it.
We need plaque in there.
Jeremiah is actually going to be the head of our district, the district governor in 2 years. So,
Nice.
powerful guy.
The word funding sounds really exciting, because our budget is super
Cut?
tight next year. It's being cut.
Good. Did your
intensely.
funding include something like signage? Because we were trying
Yes.
to get different kinds of, the
Educational
signs that
signs.
Angelica are really interesting, how educational they are, about different things going on, different plant species.
Mhm.
We also have a story walk, which I don't think we would do, but, I think
Yeah, I think
we
we're
want
looking-
to, I think one of the things we've learned is that people are thirsting for knowledge, and it's part of the walks that the rec board has going, and, we see that in a number of ways, but we need signs to try to help give people the information they need and spark them, to do their own research.
It could definitely.
But we don't have much funds for that.
No.
The only thing we cannot fund are building materials. So we've done shelters, for instance, we were down at the Opportunity House. We will not be able to fund the construction of something that we're doing. Anything else that,
Yeah, signage is part of what we wanna do. We're trying to pick out small things that we can afford to do. In the meantime, we're looking for, I think, permanent signage in certain areas that focus on this meadowland and what species are here, and temporary signage, which I saw a fantastic one at Longwood Gardens a few weeks back. It's like a metal plaque, and they stick it in the ground, and you can write on it with like a paint marker. And it said, and were you along with? It had the really big thistle. It was over in the meadows, and it was this enormous thistle, and they're like, this is a native thistle, this does this, and like it looks really crazy where it's at in the middle of this slightly curated area, and you're like, okay. Stuff like that we can put through the parklands when we are spraying the invasives, and we've got this big swath of death, where somebody saw all this lovely green vines, not realizing it was, pokeberry, or not pokeberry, the porcelain berry, stuff like that. So to be able to move these signs around and say, we're doing this, we need signage sort of on both fronts.
It's just with a mobile sign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think of like a little chalkboard sign.
Yeah, like a little chalkboard sign, but more of a metal paintboard sign you can write and say. So when we're doing this sort of construction, ripping out
Right.
whatever and putting in whatever, we can
When-
sort of explain
when
to
he was
them.
saying about the riparian buffer, and I believe it's in the report, and I believe you spoke about it, is be good for a sign like that, is to take a 100-foot section of stream bank where the honeysuckle is there, to cut the honeysuckle riparian buffer with some other vegetation, and a sign that says, this is what it's an experiment.
This is what we're doing, yeah.
Yeah.
Because the honeysuckle is holding the bank up,
yeah, certainly.
but it's also invasive. So we're
And that might be somewhere where
crossroads.
something a little more permanent could, because, theoretically that should work and last, that could be a permanent sign versus,
Just
spraying the
the-
porcelain berry, get something
Yeah.
temporary or.
Yeah.
So when you're done with one section,
Yeah, and then you
that's
just move that
fine.
sign.
Yeah,
next
yeah,
section.
exactly.
So that's a big thing. In terms of dealing specifically with invasives, a lot of that's getting sprayed. I don't know that your guys can even help with that. There's all kinds of stuff.
No,
I don't know
I don't think we
what.
would want to.
Right.
The sweat equity part, if we would do a riparian buffer though, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, to have help with planting.
Purchase of plants.
Yeah, that would be.
On the Little Lehigh project, they removed knotweed, Japanese knotweed, which was just choking everything. So that was removed, and then partially funded the purchase of new plants, native plants.
Well, we have like at least 5 small infestations of knotweed along the creek in the park. That it would be great to get
I
them
know.
moved, but what does it take, a bulldozer? I mean,
It's very difficult to do it by hand.
yeah,
Yeah, it usually requires some equipment.
but
Yeah.
right now these are small, you know, 10, the biggest one is like 20 feet diameter.
They should be taken out.
Smaller ones.
Yeah, so we would love to get you on board with any of that. I don't know what the exact next steps are, I don't know if that's something
We would have
we
to
can
basically
discuss.
develop a project.
Okay.
And, you know, a portion of the project that you would want us involved in, where you think that funding would help the most.
For what it's worth, Greg and I were supposed to meet with Larry Lloyd from Berks Nature yesterday, and I had to reschedule because I was under the weather. Would you like to be clued into when that meeting is
Sure.
rescheduled to meet us out there? Because we were actually going to meet in the Parklands to walk through and look at some of the areas for the recommendations, and I know, and you know, he might have a good suggestion within budget time constraints
Yeah.
for something we could pick.
Because he was involved in the project. so
Yes.
He knows
Yes.
the
Right,
area.
yeah, he knows, yeah.
So I can.
No.
That's something any of us could go along on?
We have to be somewhat careful and not keep it a quorum because then we have to advertise.
Sorry.
And so we have to be careful not to keep it a quorum because then we have to advertise. I mean, the intent was just for it to be a quick follow-up staff meeting
Okay.
with him to kind of point out areas of interest. And his question to me was, since you received the final report, has the commission talked about it?
Yep.
What was their feedback, and do you have interest, you know, Greg and I just meeting him to kind of talk through a couple of key points?
Okay.
I don't mind if 1 or 2 of you want to attend by any means. I just want to avoid the quorum
Yeah.
concern.
For sure.
You also don't want to change the feel of the meeting.
Right.
I mean, it's meant
Too
to be,
many cooks in the kitchen.
it's meant to be more casual.
So theoretically, we would come up with a concept, take it to you.
Yep, and we'll write a grant application.
Write a
And
grant
I have
application
a lot of
and see.
experience in doing that, and
We have a grant writer if it makes your life easier.
that would be great, that'd be great, yeah. I did a lot of it, for Rotary, and I always felt that you had to make them cry. So I'm pretty good at that.
I actually think our
ran
grant
the
writer
at the
from
district level for a long time.
Jim worked with our grant writer on a Healing the Planet tree grant that we got $2,000 from. Was that Giant? 4,000. I'm sorry, I don't mean to shortchange you. I think they actually like these little grant projects more than like the state through the CFA and DCED. Just they're more interesting.
Now, what I have to do is sell it to my club, so I'll come up with kind of
I'll help.
okay. Come up with a couple of paragraphs on that, and I need to sell it to the board of directors, because I'm competing with others in the club that, you know, somebody wants to do a shelter over here, somebody wants to work in the schools, you know, so, and we only submit probably 2 grant applications a year, because we're competing against all the other clubs in the district as well.
Anything else you want to add, Terry? Say any
Don't
other
think so.
questions?
I'm just trying to picture what it would look like if we did that project, removing some of the bush honeysuckle in a very obvious place, like right off the old mill, you know,
Right.
or like right there. You know, how that would catch a lot of people's attention. It would be, you know, the value would be more than, you know, actually improving that spot. It would be something that would generate a lot of interest in the community and hopefully then more understanding and.
Absolutely.
I think education is so important, because you know what's gonna happen. You know, you start removing large amounts of plant material out there, and it's not gonna be very popular.
Yeah, I think as Judy said, we have 2 groups of people. We have the ones who know what's actually out there and what's good for us and not, and the other ones that say, it's green and beautiful, don't touch it, don't change it. It's been like this for 100 years.
The comments in the appendix of the report are very polarized on
Yeah,
yeah.
okay. All right,
Okay,
yeah,
thank you very much.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you.
I'm
Thank you very
gonna
much.
excuse myself.
Yeah.
no, thank you so much. Sorry I didn't move you up earlier, I got sidetracked.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay,
Looking
Lucy,
forward to working with you.
do you want to, yes, thank you so much for coming
Sure.
tonight. Lucy, do you want to give us an update?
As much as I can, I don't think any, sort of test materials for remounting nest boxes have been purchased yet. I haven't.
Dwayne is not here, I
Yeah.
don't know if I can speak much to this.
I
I
know
will,
that he has
when
it.
Larry replies to me, I'll
I
copy you
have,
my reply.
Sounds
good.
Thanks, Terry.
Very good.
been looking into, the options for replacing about a third of the nest boxes, or maybe not quite that many, at least 8 of them. And Art Zadankwick, who was my first, thought, since he gave us 2 really nice nest boxes, but he's told me he's committed to making 45 Kestrel boxes this winter. He doesn't start that until after the new year, so he's not at all sure he could make any more than the Kestrel boxes. So, on the Bluebird Society Pennsylvania website, I came across mention of a nest box made by a fellow named Ken Leister, who lives in Westchester. He's the former county coordinator for the Pennsylvania Bluebird Society, and he has spent years developing his own improvements to bluebird boxes, and he has told me that he could easily make us 8 boxes for between $16 and $20.
Is that the one we spoke about last meeting? I think so.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Is the price range.
Yeah, that price range sounds right.
Because the $20, he says, is if he includes a pole mounting system on the box, which sounded like, that'd save
Well,
some.
$20 for 8 boxes, where we can,
For
we
each,
do that.
Yeah, right, so
Yeah, but yeah, 8 times, yeah, we're looking at under $200.
the
Right.
actual options for the poles are they each seem to cost the same, about $10 a pole. I mean, the whole system, the box plus the pole plus the hardware, probably no more than about $30 per box. Ken Leister, I discovered this really nice article about him online this morning. He's about 86 years old now, so I think we want to get our order. But if anybody's interested, his boxes, some of the design features, it has, the roof has an extra overhang, which helps with cooling, with keeping them dry, with keeping predators out. He really pays attention to ventilation, much more so than a lot of other boxes. How the doors sometimes swell and then you can't get them open. So he allows a little space there, and he puts strips of weather stripping on it. I mean, he's like, these boxes are amazing.
We need him to give us the build.
So
specs,
I
too.
am in the process, yes, of trying to nail down the details, how exactly the purchase would work, what
Okay.
the next steps are. And I want to, now Ken told me he uses the, what's it called, T-posts, which are those, garden fence posts. They're, you just, that you have one post and you pound it into the ground and there it is. So I want to, once again, present the Dwayne with the different post options, because that installation would be up to them, and try to get from him which option, he thinks would be easiest for the staff to work with.
Okay.
Because
You wanted to move some of them too, didn't you? They were too close to the paths.
Yes, what I really like to do is get together with the folks that are interested in helping with this project, so it's not just my decision, but have a conversation about, what's been going on with each box and what we'd like to, have different next year, including some changes in the locations. So what about the subcommittee meeting?
I was gonna say, do you have people that are interested in working on this?
Yes.
Okay. I have to figure out the logistics of creating these subcommittees, but this definitely has to become one of them. If this is something that you wanna maintain and move forward with, take it off of their plate, make sure we have our birds. So if you can get a list of the names,
Okay.
addresses, I assume even as a subcommittee, they still have to be Wyomissing residents.
Yes.
Sort of get together that list. I will figure out the logistics of creating. Now, if there's other subcommittees that somebody thinks we could use,
Just,
Yeah,
finance
right.
administration has to decide whether subcommittees can have people who are not on committees.
Right, so we have to figure out, right, so just get together a list of names and I will move forward with that and with whatever else and figure out.
Another subcommittee that, was mentioned to me recently was maybe a subcommittee to work on the, you know, the community messages, the outreach and education part
Oh,
of this.
yeah, for like our newsletters and stuff, which we had done prior.
Newsletters or, you know, programming for libraries,
Okay.
posters for the kiosks in the park,
Okay,
magazine articles and all that.
I will, get these ideas together for our
Okay.
next meeting and make that happen, but if you can start looking at people that might wanna be involved in
Yeah.
helping with the bird boxes, Rotary School.
Question for Michelle, the money that was budgeted for this, does it have to be spent by the end of the year or?
It's in 25's budget,
Oh,
not this year's
okay,
budget.
so it would be next year that it would go out.
Yes.
Next year's budget.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
thank you.
Lucy, would it be helpful if, I know Dwayne's not here, but if we got you in touch with Dwayne to schedule a specific time that you could go to the bird barn? He typically, this is hunting season and he is an avid hunter, so at this time of the year, he's
Yeah.
out for a
Okay.
pretty long stretch of time, but I'm
Yeah.
thinking January.
Yeah, I'm just trying to simplify this, and
Yeah.
make it, if we could find the correct pole.
Yeah.
That seems pretty simple, let's find the pole,
Right,
and then a field day with you of marking the location,
okay,
purchase the boxes, so we know he has the boxes, he has the poles, he knows the location, then he could install them at his leisure during the winter.
yeah. Yeah.
Is purchasing these boxes something that has
By the end of February would be good. Yeah, the birds start arriving early to mid-March.
And how tall is the pole, is it tall or 6 feet, 10 feet?
What's recommended is that the nest pole be at least 5 feet above the ground.
Oh, that's not
You
bad.
don't want it higher, cause then, you know, you need a step stool to look in. So,
Yeah.
Alright, so Jen, we can have Michelle buy boxes, if we can get the information to Michelle.
Yep.
Borough can buy those boxes.
Yep.
We can meet with you, Dwayne, you can meet, figure out the posts, if you
Yep.
can,
And the biggest thing is just a
And
field meeting with
spots.
you and Dwayne to, hey, here's a
this
spot.
is, we wanna move it here.
Given the age of the person making the boxes,
Mhm.
we bought more than 8, could you store them?
Oh, yeah. Do a brand new garage.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's a. We have like
It's
room
like 24.
24.
There's plenty of
we
room
have-
upstairs.
we have- You mean how many boxes?
How many
are on the
boxes
trip?
are in the name, are in the parking?
32.
32.
Order 32.
So
Well,
is-
once we
is
get one, we might be
32
able to, make
Replicate,
a
I know.
knockoff.
And there may be, I can ask
For
him,
20 bucks, it's hard.
Yeah, that's a
20
hard
bucks,
to beat.
it's hard to
you
beat.
know, anyway,
Yeah, like if it's in the budget, we just pay 32.
8 of them are in poor shape. I mean, we do have a number of boxes that are in good shape.
And Jen, it's Phyllis would say 600, 650, 1,000 lost in the sauce.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's
think
the
we
lost
buy,
in
I
sauce
think we buy
number.
the supplies and have them, and then just replace them, so we're not replacing all 32 ones in 3
No, you want
years.
to rotate.
Perfect.
Right.
Anything else on the bird boxes?
No,
So we'll get you, we'll make all that happen. Okay.
thank you.
Okay, number 8, parking area for the meadow trail.
You wanna give Lenny his 5 minutes of fame?
Yes.
As I understand it, you wanna turn a portion of this into a parking area,
Permanent parking area.
Just-
permanent parking area.
Does anybody know where this is?
Yeah.
Okay, just wanna make
Across
sure,
from the
because
parking
if you
area.
don't know where it is, this won't make any sense.
You know where we're talking about, Kenny?
Mhm.
Yeah.
My only concern was we just put up a parking lot.
Well,
Behind the sun,
the
something like
contractor, I talked to the contractor this morning, he says it'd probably be a financial wash, if it would cost, something additional, it would be minimal. The only flag that came up is, and I never even wouldn't believe this, but they have a permit with the conservation district, Virgin Sediment Control, and he believes the price says it has to be put back like it was. And he said stone parking lots are considered 95% impervious. I had never heard that before.
I've never heard that
Well.
before.
But that,
Yeah.
I think it can happen, we just have to give them a size and say, is this a wash or what's it gonna cost us?
And
And I don't know how big I don't know how large you want it.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the question was whether we wanted additional parking in the first place. I'm often at the Meadow Trail, and there's often people parking on the road because there's.
look at the day we met there.
Yeah.
I was
And-
parked on the road there on Sunday, yeah.
Yes, it's frequent. So when I was walking past and saw that they had made sort of a makeshift parking lot because of the sewer project, it sparked me to think, maybe you wanna take advantage of it because they'd have to return the property to some state, and why not make a parking lot at that time? But I didn't know what anybody else thought, so I sent pictures in to see. It makes sense to me to have more parking. It's not like we're not losing anything, nothing usually happens at that space.
I mean, what has to be,
I was just saying,
It's
Jim
a lot
McCarthy
safer
would be
to do
able to
that.
answer, whatever their DEP permit is approved for, yes, typically you have to return to original
Yeah.
conditions, but I would think you could file an amended plan after the fact for a subsection to show,
Would have to be with NTEC, not with Jim. I
but
think.
he could answer the question as to the process.
Right.
And how many people think that would solve the problem of people parking on the road on the other
It's
side?
not gonna solve the problem,
But it's
it's a lot safer than people.
True,
And we want people to enjoy the parklands, and
The other thing we know is that area is ripe with invasives, that when they go to restore this, all of that invasive seed is probably
Right.
going to come up and we're gonna have to eradicate it and deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, we had talked about
Yeah.
that as like a, one of the like
Yeah.
native meadow restoration
Yeah.
projects over the next 2 years as far as like,
yeah.
cause doesn't that area flood as well, isn't that part of the flood?
Occasionally, yeah, wetlands.
well, if it floods and we're putting in a rock
yeah.
parking
I-
lot,
I-
then
like
the
very
rocks,
basic.
the sediment's gonna end up in the,
At that area there, I don't think
Too
that should be a
far.
It
concern.
floods more down by the pool. Like on the lower side of the bridge where the fence is, it's
Yeah,
more
I
down
think
there.
that's too far to really get the creek.
Although remember when the asphalt walkway got totally lifted up by a flood?
3 months after it was put in,
Yeah.
2018 to be exact.
what other
remember that.
modifications need to be made from the street, cause it's what, there's a street, there's grass, and then
Curb
there's the
cut.
macadam walkway,
Right.
and then
Curb
we'd have
cut.
to like,
Probably make
create
a blacktop entrance from the street to the back of the walking path, and then stone from there.
But the first question is whether we want to. I mean, if we want to, then we.
my thought is if we're gonna put in more parking spaces, we also have to then additionally put in like a nice pretty meadow flower zone area there too.
Oh, see,
So it's not just parking and
See,
grass.
to me, it's parking and trash cans.
Parking, trash cans, and flowers. You can't, I don't wanna put up another parking lot like we did in the Stone House and people be like,
Would it
Oh.
be,
Hey, we've gotten a ton of compliments
I
on
know,
that
it's
parking
really
lot.
nice. I
Would
know,
it
I
be-
believe it, I
would it
agree.
be possible if this were to occur to have another like marked pedestrian crossing? Cause people aren't gonna walk up past the bridge and go across and then.
I was waiting for that question.
Why not? Just do it as part of our line striping project.
Yeah, it's not a big deal.
No.
There's no like other,
Could
you
we-
just do it.
Yeah, I mean, like, if we were to put another mark thing, or maybe like a little Lincoln light.
Can't do
or like-
blinking,
No
because that
blinking, no
requires a
blinking. You
traffic
could do a
signal
white,
permit from PennDOT.
striped crosswalk.
Yeah,
If you wanna donate one of those little kid signs that says go slow.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Stand on that.
Okay.
So how large of a parking lot might we be talking about? Is the overflow ever more than 4 or 5 cars?
I was gonna
Yeah.
suggest 10.
Oh,
Yeah, I was, my thought is, yeah, you're looking at
Yeah.
like 10.
Yeah, 'cause then they go up to the foundation, people will park in there when they're not supposed to, and
And
it's.
yet there's that big park, paved lot across from,
The wire club.
Right.
That could-
Getting people to walk.
across from,
How
from
cool
the
is.
skating rod.
Yeah, we can walk from Parklands to get to where we walk.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and we,
I can't tell you how much trash I pick up.
No.
By the signs, by the wire. club.
trying to think of the times of year when there's excess parking, which is really
That's a big
fall
one.
and spring.
Yes.
Yeah, sometimes summer.
Sometimes summer, but it's mostly fall and spring, which is when the pool was closed. But we let the school utilize that pool parking lot.
They're working on a long-term plan that was part of our meeting on Friday. They're looking on a long-term plan for their bus parking solution, but they're at least a year or two, if not longer,
Because
out.
otherwise, that would be viable parking for the Parklands if the buses weren't using it. Versus adding another parking lot.
But there is a fair amount of overflow needed in the summer,
Okay,
there really is, and then you don't have a pool option.
okay.
I mean, I think the big thing is that, you know, we need to have some sort of cue to, like, if we just put a parking lot in the grass, we're gonna have a bunch of people parking overflow in the grass when that lot,
That's true.
inevitably, like, that needs like trees and landscaping and, you know.
Do not park here signs?
Well, you can get away from, you know,
maybe
sign,
guardrail.
a landscape
Yeah.
architect friend of mine likes to say that if you need a sign, you didn't design it very well. And so if you.
Design your boundary.
Yeah, exactly, that if you define boundaries with trees or landscaping or something like that,
Oh, there's,
people will know,
yeah, guardrails.
I'm not gonna drive across this, you know,
Yeah,
meadow or, you know, native wildflower planting or whatever. But so that, you know, that kind of consideration, I think, is something that we, you know, we wanna make sure we're thinking about and might, you know, add some additional expense.
Yeah,
and
just
that
feel like
kind of
there's
thing.
extra costs
Yeah.
than just.
Yeah, leaving
Costs.
riprap in the,
What?
cause
Yeah.
there's not gonna, like,
What are the?
they didn't dig a sub base or anything like that, riprap
They
just
just call that
sat
a
on
tire,
top
it's a
of the
tire
dirt.
scrubber, so they don't get
Yeah.
dirt out on the road.
Yeah, but like that, you know, they would need to, I would imagine if we were putting in more permanent parking, you know, that's probably only 4 inches,
Oh,
or
yeah.
one layer that they would take that out, excavate, put in a sub base, put in the
I would say
actual
for a parking lot
surface
that they
gravel.
need, it'd have to be 6, maybe 8 inches of stone.
Yeah, but like that, yeah, like that feels like that would end up being more work than they just take it out and throw some fill down and.
You just seem to say, hey, it'd probably be a wash, it might be a couple of $1,000 or something, more or less a wash.
Yeah.
Because they have to bring in topsoil, the other, you know.
So
Yeah.
I think you would get your parking lot, it's the defined boundary, the landscaping, the guardrail, the blacktop, the curb cut,
Yeah,
what are those costs?
yeah.
Right.
Did you need blacktop, it's not across the street?
You're gonna need something to pave to get from where the curb cut would go
Oh,
to
gotcha.
there.
Yeah, you gotta get across the, so is there a way to gather up a general estimate on
Use your estimator skills, Jim.
that?
Well,
Yeah,
so what are
I don't
the
know if
items?
it's, I mean, I think this has to go to infrastructure, really.
No.
But we still have to decide what we want.
Right.
And if we don't,
Factors here. Is there anybody who's completely against the idea of this parking lot?
I'm not against, I think there's not a lot of data and considering the reaction of people in general to changes.
Yeah, I feel like
It's-
I feel like this is something that, you know, we should, you know, plan out and get at least some sort of a drawing of
They're
where it's
finishing
gonna
up their
go.
project
Yeah,
when.
it's
problem
something
is
that's
this
worth it.
project is supposed to be done in the year, Christmas Eve,
Yeah,
so we don't have, there's not a whole lot of time.
There
And
would
they've
need
been
to be
looking
a,
at this stone lot for-
a sketch of its size, its location, and then if, now we have its size and location, how many trees do you want to border it?
Yeah.
You know,
Do we have any trees laying around that need a spot to plant? Is
I
that,
would
is that?
put raised bed in around and some shrubs. They're not gonna drive over that.
Yeah.
And some trees behind it.
if somebody wanted to meet me out there for size and location, one of my guys, Mike Lecce, believe it or not, is a great architect. He has that flair with a pen to make a conceptual drawing.
Of what a parking lot would look like.
Yeah.
We could just take the one from the stone house and overlay it here.
We could take that one the
But it's not required to take down any trees or.
Yeah, I mean, what we're looking at is we have what looks like a parking lot now. And come December when the project's over, the people, and this isn't our project, this is Spring Township's project.
Correct.
So,
Keep in mind, this is a Spring Township project, but next
year.
fall, winter, there's gonna be basically a duplicate project for the West Longshore
Which is us.
heading in the same, it's not as large as Spring Township project, but we'll be digging
In that,
more
in
out
that
in the
spot.
road, more out in Old Mill Road, not really, doesn't go through that area. But it's out in Old Mill Road, for the most part.
So we have a parking lot now that either in December when this project's over has to go back to grass or,
Well, they probably wouldn't do that restoration until spring at this point, it'd be stupid to do it now.
okay.
But I think if you wanna pursue it, I think it would, if one or two people wanna go out there and visualize, this is the size, this is a rectangle, this is a square, and then somehow get a sketch and a small, quick cost estimate.
The space across the street works well.
So something similar, dimension-wise or square footage-wise.
Yeah, because usually people know how to park there, so every once in a while you get creative.
Yeah.
They're everywhere.
Yeah, I'm happy to meet out there with you if you wanna.
Just email me what day or time work for you and we'll make it work.
Okay. Yeah, I can look at my calendar. Alright. So we'll get some numbers together. Is this on the plan?
In the sketch.
Do you want to table but keep it on the agenda?
Yeah, it does need a motion, right? Okay, I will make a motion to table recommending council approve keeping all or portion of the temporary parking area on the north side of Old Mill Road.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Alright, we will table that, hopefully come up with a plan and move forward at that point. Anything else on that? Anybody have any other input? No? Eagle Scout project, Steve Bruner had a guy for that, so I think we just need to, I need to talk with Steve.
That's easy enough.
Yeah, we're gonna, we do have somebody who, Steve Bruner, council member, has, an Eagle Scout who wants to refurbish the gazebo, so I will talk to him, as long as nobody is opposed to the refurbishment of the gazebo.
Do you want that to stay on the agenda or come off?
We can leave it there. Yeah.
My husband has some concerns about the structural integrity of the gazebo. I just want to make sure that this person is working closely with Jim to make sure that it's not so far gone that.
It's unsafe.
I don't know, is there a picnic table under there right now? I don't even know if there is.
There was one inside it years
Is there?
ago. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think people sit under it, it's more of just a visual. I just liked it because it was originally it was really Adirondack looking, you know.
It's cute.
Okay,
Rustic.
number 10, review of chapter 16, Park and Rec's Borough Code.
So the only change that was made to this since your last meeting was I added this language, to make the penalties a lot stronger, in my opinion, for failing to follow the rules.
Did you guys get a chance to kind of read through it, any members? Yeah.
Yeah.
We started discussing this ages ago, because there was some outdated information and some things to update. I mean, the only other question I had, which I had before, was Randy went through this, and he had no concern with the, what's the word I'm looking for, the qualified person to take care of somebody under the age of 10. It says all people under the age of 10 need a.
At the pool?
Yeah,
Yeah,
at
I
the
mean, the
pool.
pool subcommittee of the rec board actually did it.
They were okay with an 8-year-old being watched by a 10-year-old, or a 6-year-old being watched by a 10-year-old.
They had no.
Whatever that the number.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions about it? Or any other concerns? I'll make a motion to approve it, the revisions of chapter 16, Park and Rec of the Borough Code. All those in favor? Any opposed?
This does technically need to go to council for one.
Oh,
final.
Okay.
And then it'll have to be advertised for 30 days before we can adopt it.
Approve to, the revisions and then move to council. Got it. Park and Shade Tree Commission terms and reappointments. Amy, are you still there?
Yep, I'm still here.
Hey, Amy. We haven't heard from you. I wanted to make sure you didn't take a
No.
nap.
That's okay.
Okay, so appointment of commission members. The only one whose term is ending as a commission member is Jean, correct? And Jean, you would like to step down as a commission member. Okay.
A subcommittee
Or maybe
or
join a subcommittee.
Parkland
Hopefully,
group is done.
sounds good. So we will have an open seat, which I'd like to hold off on right now. I would like to make a motion to just table appointing a voting member to serve on Park and Shade Commission.
So,
Second.
well, can I just ask,
Yes.
then would we be down one member at the next meeting?
Well, we still have our 2 alternates available.
Oh, okay, so as long as one of them is able to attend,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
And as
Yeah,
long
and
as you
even,
have
yeah,
a
as long as-
quorum in
yeah.
person, you can participate by phone like Amy's doing.
Right, yeah.
Okay, oh, cool.
All those in favor of tabling, appointing right now? Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. And then reappointment of our alternate members, Amy and Brandon, who did email me last minute and said he had something come up at work. I'd like to make a motion to approve, because their term, we appointed them last meeting,
Yeah,
but their term is a 1-year term, so it ends on December 31st, so we have to reappoint them for the 2025. So I would like to make a motion to approve appointing alternate members Amy DeShazo and Brandon Mathis to serve on Park and Shade Tree Commission for terms to expire on December 31st, 2025.
second that.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Does anybody have anything else that I missed? No? All right. Our meetings, this meeting was held a week early because Thanksgiving's next week, but for future, the meetings are always on the 4th Wednesday, 1 o'clock here in Borough Hall. Melissa always sends out an email with all the information, everything that you need to read up on a week prior. And then we always want to RSVP to her so we make sure we have a quorum so that we can actually do business. If not, we would have to reschedule or cancel a meeting. Okay? Alright. And our meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
Amy, hold on one second. New members, did you all get a copy of the forest stewardship plan? Okay,
I looked at it online.
okay.
I didn't get a physical copy.
We only have 2 physical copies, so I just wanna make sure you know where to go to read it.
Yes.
Oh, it's on the borough's website.
Okay, perfect.
Let me quickly.
Is it under an agenda item for the one meeting, or is it
I
someplace
believe
else?
so.
Not that easy to find.
Yeah, I would
Could
think
you
it would be
just
that easy.
email
to
I was gonna email you a link.
Yeah, yeah, Michelle can email you all a link, but also you can go onto the website to the meetings. Or if you go to the agenda page, you can look back at like the last.
Give me all of them. No, I'm doing this wrong. I'm a
Yeah.
horrible example
Is it
over
good?
here.
Yeah.
Is it possible to have something in the website and have it?
Can we just
Is that a
get
link?
like a direct link to it of what we're doing, like kind of under news?
Well, especially since so many people participated in this feedback.
So we can? Okay.
It'd be nice
Yeah, just kind of an update.
if they could see results this time.
Okay. I will send it out to the new Park and Shade Commission members, but then yes, we can link it as a update, so to speak, on the homepage of the website.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, good meeting.
Keep that.